Hey guys, Tito James here. Welcome back to the channel where we take awesome out of the box. Well, it's been about 3 months or 4 months since OPPO launched their Reno3 smartphone here in the Philippines, and to be completely honest with you guys, the team and I had a few issues with that smartphone, particularly when it came to build quality and the processor that they used. Well, they just launched the newest member of the Reno series, the Reno4, and while they did tackle some of those issues, I can't help but ask the question, is it a little too fast for the next Reno smartphone to arrive? Now, before I answer that question, I'll show you what comes inside the box, of course. We'll talk about the phone, and while we're at it, please don't forget to sub to the channel and hit that notification bell. Plus, follow us on Instagram because we do hold our monthly giveaways over there. Okay, so we've already unboxed the Reno4 since the team has reviewed this smartphone already, but you have the phone itself, of course, and what you're seeing is the galactic blue color variant, which is, I'm guessing, their hero color for this device. Everything else is what we've all come to expect from our smartphone purchases: a jelly case for out-of-the-box protection, documentation that you should keep even if you don't read it, the classic OPPO SIM ejector pin, some earphones, a USB-C cable, and their 30-watt VOOC charger. Alright, so now that you've seen everything that comes inside the box, let's try to answer the question, was it too soon for OPPO to release this smartphone? And of course, is it actually worth considering? One of our issues with the previous model was that for the money you were expected to pay, you were getting a polycarbonate plastic back. Well, you're still getting one here, but at least they gave it a matte finish to class things up a bit. It also makes the Reno4 a bit more resistant to smears and smudges, with the added bonus of making it look like it belongs amongst the other smartphones in its price range. This also makes the device extremely light as well, and while I may prefer my phones to have a bit more weight to them, I can see how other people may appreciate that this won't add too much weight to their EDCs or everyday carry once we're back to the usual hustle and bustle of life. Overall, in the looks department, this gets a thumbs up for me, and I really appreciate it that phone brands are now giving us more subtle gradients versus the flashier ones of yesteryear. Though I am still on the fence about the bigger camera arrays that OPPO has seemed to have adopted for the Reno4, I still prefer the sleeker ones on the 3, but these are more on trend for this year, I suppose. More on the cameras later. Now, since this is the first time you're seeing this phone on the channel, let's give you a tour of the button and port layout. What you're seeing right now is the bottom of the phone that houses the headphone jack, mic, USB-C port, and speaker grill. Feeling a bit lonely on the right side is the power button. It's okay, bro, we love you. On the left, you'll find access to the SIM tray plus volume rocker. And lastly, on top is another mic. Let me know if we should ditch the phone tour in our next reviews or unboxings if it doesn't work out for you guys. But anyway, let's talk about the display on the Reno4, and it's pretty much the same one as the Reno3. It measures in at 6.4 inches with full HD plus resolution, and you're getting the same AMOLED panel as the 3, but you are getting a dual punch hole for the cameras instead of a water drop notch. As you guys know, AMOLED panels give off punchier colors and more contrast, which I really enjoy as I primarily use my smartphone to watch content, but you should also see the benefits for browsing through your social media feeds. The refresh rate is still capped at 60Hz, which could be considered a downside given that we're getting more mid-range phones with 90Hz refresh rates, but at the end of the day, I will always lean towards displays that give me better image quality. By the way, OPPO also introduces air gestures to the Reno4 so you can scroll through your content or pick up phone calls without even touching your device, but I've always found this a little gimmicky and not just for this particular phone. It's not that precise and you could possibly end up giving yourself carpal tunnel syndrome. Call me a Tito because I am, but I'd rather pick up my phone and scroll through my Instagram feeds manually. Now, the biggest difference in the Reno4 from the previous model is their SoC of choice. I know that a lot of you frowned when they went with the Helio P90, but thankfully, OPPO has decided to put the Snapdragon 720G in this device, which is paired with 8GB of RAM and 128GB of storage. This is a processor that we should all be familiar with by now, as it's a bit of a staple in the mid-range scene, and rightfully so. It's powerful enough to play popular titles available in the Play Store, and has enough muscle for those who might use their phones for work like we do. On the gaming side of things, you can see that it can also handle its own with the numbers backing it up, so whether you're into MOBAs or Battle Royales, the phone can absolutely take it. And to all the RO players out there, I apologize that we don't include them in our benchmark tests. Tito just doesn't play that game. I think the last time I played Ragnarok Online was back in the old days where we still had dial-up and the Chaos server was at 500 people. Now for the battery, you have a 4015 milliamp hour capacity and it clocked in at 12 hours and 19 minutes in our battery benchmark test, which is a huge difference from the 9 hours and 42 minutes on the Reno 3. But of course, it's real-world use that matters, and I was able to get it to last a full day, but again, your mileage may vary. The good thing here though is that you have access to OPPO's 30-watt VOOC charging, so when you do need to top up the Reno 4, it will only take about an hour. Lastly, let's talk about the cameras. You have a total of 4 on the back with a 48 megapixel main camera. There's an 8 megapixel ultra-wide, a 2 megapixel depth sensor, and sadly, OPPO went with the usual macro camera at 2 megapixels and ditched the 13 megapixel telephoto that was present on the Reno 3. I'm not a huge fan of this move. It might be a way for OPPO to keep costs down, but I really prefer that telephoto camera. Now for selfies, you're not actually getting 2. You have an AI smart sensor that makes things like the air gestures and anti-peeping mode possible. And for the camera itself, OPPO lowered the megapixel count to 32 down from 44, but put a Sony IMX616 sensor to back it up. For the actual output, I was pretty happy with the results from the main camera that gave us a good amount of detail with fair color accuracy. The ultra-wide camera, however, was a bit inconsistent with its output, with white balance often going out of whack and some photos getting a tad too underexposed as well. For night shots, you are getting passable results, but if you pixel peep, you will notice that it does compensate and over sharpens at times. For selfies, I am pretty happy with the results, but as always, try to get as much light if you want them to be on point. Now, something that OPPO has been building up in the Reno series since the Reno 2 is its video capabilities, and you're actually getting really good results with the Reno 4. You can shoot up to 4K, but you're most likely going to want to use the Ultra Steady feature if you're going to be shooting videos on the go, and the results are very smooth shots, though it's going to be cropped in a little bit. I do have to note though that using Ultra Steady will lock you into 1080 60 FPS, but you can go down to 30 FPS if you toggle on Pro mode, and there's also going to be less of a crop. The Reno 4 can also shoot slow-mo videos up to 960 frames per second at 720p to produce some pretty dope looking shots. By the way kids, I don't smoke, and if you do, please consider cutting it down and quitting eventually. Just a bit of Tito advice. Alright, so let's try to answer both those questions that I posed to you guys earlier, and sorry to say, but there is no absolute answer. If you ask me, and you are because you're watching this video, that was a really quick turnaround time from the Reno 3 to the Reno 4, and I can't imagine the buyer's remorse you must have if you happen to have picked up the Reno 3 recently. So in a sense, I do feel like it is a bit too soon for this smartphone. On the other hand, I do appreciate that they updated the processor on this iteration of the phone. It's a very welcome one. In a way, it's more of this is what the Reno 3 should have been. As for the question if it's worth considering, well, OPPO runs into pretty much the same barriers they've been running into. The extremely tough competition it now has in the mid-range segment where they have thrived in the past. You see, the OPPO Reno 4 is priced at 18,990 pesos, and in a lot of ways, it does offer more values than its predecessor, the OPPO Reno 3, and it does check a lot of boxes in terms of display, the now better battery life, its video capabilities, and if those are high up on your needs list for your next smartphone, definitely have it as one of your options. But there are a lot of fish in the great mid-range sea. So there you go guys, that's the OPPO Reno 4. Thank you so much for dropping by and spending a few minutes with me. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up, sub to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of our content. If you have any questions, leave them down below and I'll try to get to them as soon as I can. For all the latest tech news and gadget reviews, head to unbox.ph, plus follow us on Facebook and on Instagram. My name is Jamie, peace, God bless, and see you guys next time. Stay safe.